Hello out there. Welcome to our podcast today. This is Coach EJ, the brand.
This is Coach Aaron, the source. Hey, EJ, what's happening today?
Aaron, not much, man. Just another day. It's a Tuesday out there today, I guess. But everything's great, man. Just it's the fall, right now a little bit, and get into some interesting things that are happening with all their athletes. So I guess what I want to talk about today, Aaron, is, are you a long-term vested athlete? Are you ready for this? And, it's planning, organizing, and really putting your head down to work. So that's what's going on today.
All right. I like that. Yeah, I like that. I think we sometimes forget. We know as athletes, we know where we want to be and where we want to go, but we don't always realize the time that it takes to get there. We sometimes underestimate that.
Right.
And usually it does take longer than what we expect. So no, I think it's good that we kind of reiterate that to the athletes so that they really understand it's not a quick journey for most.
Yeah. Aaron, it's interesting as we're kind of winding down the fall a little bit. And I see athletes, thinking, wow, we're halfway through it or a little bit further halfway through it. And, what else do I have to do? It's kind of that look on their face. And I don't know if you see this either when you see athletes at the facility, but I see it on the field with it. Is this, it's like, okay, this is it, it's like, okay, what else do I do? And is this it? And I'm like, wow, this is just the start of it, people. We're putting our head down, and as I always say, we're working in the dark, or we're really in the dirt, or we're in the epicenter of our development as a person, as an athlete. And these are the dog days a little bit. It's not so glamorous right now. And I always think that, you just need to put your head down and grind it out in a positive way and really have a plan. So that's what I'm kind of thinking this today. That's what where my mind's kind of wrapped up in that a little bit, that first initial thought.
Yeah, we're at the beginning of October for the most part. And this is usually what I consider the start of off season for a lot of spring sports. So right. A lot of my track athletes, a lot of the baseball, softball, they're kind of winding down. Some have maybe taken some time off. Right. And they're now getting ready for next year, for February of next year. And not sure if athletes are, again, we always talk about putting a calendar together. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if most athletes are doing that and knowing that, hey, okay, October 15th, October 31st, October, whatever it is, this is when I need to start my program. I still find kids kind of waffling. And like you said, they're finished up and now they're kind of floating around wondering what they should do. And my thing is kind of have that set before it happens to you. Not every program is going to be available. Not every program is going to be offered. Not every program is going to be, open to you. So I always think that maybe if you do just a little bit of pre-planning, maybe putting fillers out in August and September, knowing, hey, these things are going to be happening and this is how I'm going to conduct my off season. I think that seems to be a lot better strategy, but we're here now. So,
right.
What do we do? Well, you find yourself a program, or you build yourself a program, or do whatever you need to do to get that off season going. You still have plenty of time, but you don't have a lot of time. What I tell athletes is that you've got time, but you're also going to lose a lot because of the holidays. And everyone always forgets about the holidays. They figure, okay, October, November, December, January. Oh man, I got 4 months to train. That's not the case. Okay. You're probably going to lose a couple of weeks, maybe even 3 for the holidays. Things might close up. You might go on vacation. All of those sorts of things start to affect the calendar. Plus, just because it's a 4-month period, doesn't mean you're training all those 4 months. So let's be realistic. And I always tell people it's about the calendar.
Right.
You can say, okay, I'm gonna performance train twice a week until January. Okay. Well, that's 16 weeks or so?
Right.
That's only 32 training sessions.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's a drop in the bucket. So don't assume that because you have a block of 4 months that you're going to get to where you need to be, especially if you're only doing something 1 time a week or 2 times a week. It doesn't work that way. And so I want people to keep in mind, it's the number of days trained, not the time period in which you've trained. It's very easy for an athlete to say, oh yeah, I've been training for the last month. Well,
right.
how many sessions did you go to? Oh, I went twice a week. That's only 8 sessions.
Nothing.
Okay. And again, I talk about the training effect and how long it takes. And it takes a minimum of 20 to maybe 32 sessions for your body to acclimate and absorb, and you be able to apply that training. So that's not a lot of time. Now you take away time because of injury, illness, vacations, holidays. That 32 can shrink very quickly. So
you're right.
I need athletes to be cognizant of that. So what does that mean? One, you need to be training with more frequency. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean seeing that hitting coach, that fielding coach more frequently, but it means doing things on your own to supplement that. Okay. The other thing that I'll always hear is, well, I've got, we're going to be practicing during that time. Practicing is not training.
Good one. I like that.
Okay. And so I understand you got to acquire the skill set that you need, and you do that partially through practicing. But even in that, if you're only practicing once or twice a week, is that enough? If you're serious about going to the next level, being a D1 athlete, just being a collegiate athlete, you have to be what I call a full-time athlete. That's 5 days a week. 5. Okay.
Yes.
That's not, a couple days here, a couple days there. Again, you always hear me talk about when athletes complain or parents complain, well, he had practice, so he can't do anything else. Like that one thing and that one day and that one activity is all they can do. Well, you're not going to get to where you want to be. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean you got to spend the time to go see a performance trainer or go get another hitting lesson. But maybe that's when you take that extra time and find a half an hour, 45 minutes, and do the work on your own. I'm really big on efficiency. I don't think training needs to take more than an hour and 15 minutes. And even as a professional athlete, my workouts were only about that long. I got real efficient with them. And because I focused on the quality. So I don't see where an athlete has an excuse to say, well, I don't have 30 minutes to do some swings. Well, where do you got to go to do your swings? Do them in your bedroom, do them in your garage, do them in your backyard. Well, I can't get to a gym. Well, there's lots of body work and calisthenics and TRX exercises, dumbbell work that you can do to supplement what you're doing when you're not at the gym. So, I say, look at your day and how are you really using it? And maybe you have to extend your day. That's quite possible. A lot of you kids have heavy loads with academics and things like that. Well, maybe it means getting, you hear me say this all the time, getting up and doing that 6 o'clock workout, or doing that 8:30 workout. Because I can tell you, most of you are probably sitting in front of the TV at 9 o'clock.
Or
or playing Nintendo or whatever. But so I'm a firm believer in the human nature that people will make things happen when it's important to them. And if an athlete tells me that, well, I can't find the time, then that tells me really it's probably not that important to you. And you've got to ask yourself that question. How important, and be honest with yourself. If you say, you know what, it's not worth it doing the extra 30 minutes. Okay, understand that and be okay with the consequences, or be okay with the risk associated with that decision. But I think, athletes and parents gaslight themselves and say, well, I've got a full schedule. Well, what does a full schedule look like? Because if it's not doing everything that you need to do to move forward to where you need to be, then obviously you filled your schedule with things that aren't important.
Wow, great points. I mean, the topic today is, are you a vested athlete, long-term vested athlete? And you hit up on some points, and I'm just going to reiterate, like, the practicing is not training. Boy, that sticks in my mind a lot, because I hear a lot of things. Well, he's got practice. I hear that all the time. I'm like, okay, can't train. Whatever. Okay, whatever. You're just wasting time to me. You're like wasting a valuable training session, and it could be 45 minutes, and you're doing, work outside the gym. I mean, it just goes back. I think a lot of things that I saw athletes do when I was growing up, or athletes to this day. I look at Kobe Bryant, and kind of his mama mentality. Just getting stuff done when you need to get it done with no excuses. Or I think of Jerry Rice and how he used to run up the hills and do all that stuff. And I think about, guys I play with, Royce Clayton, Darren Lewis, and Barry Bonds. We used to train at San Mateo. We used to go and work with Harry Mara for 45 minutes, get our work done. And we weren't at a gym. We had to get our running in, or we had to get a workout in. And it wasn't like, it wasn't long. It's 45 minutes. Then we go hit and work out some more and do that. But it was efficiency. I think the key words you said, quality and efficiency of your work. And people think you need to be in the gym, or you need to go do something for 2 or 3 or 4 hours. Yeah. And that's really working out. To me, that's like wasting time.
Yes.
What are you doing in the gym for 3 hours? What could you be doing? If I was in 3 hours, I couldn't walk next day. I'd be so tired that I couldn't recover, that I would need to take 2 days to recover.
Not if you're training right.
Exactly. What are you doing for 3 hours? What are you doing? And I think you said something really important. Full-time athlete. You're full-time student athlete, because a lot of you are students and you're athletes. Or whether you're not and you're just listening to us and you're an athlete, you're full time with it. It means you need to manage your skills. You need to manage your time. You need to understand what you need to do. Write it down. I'm going to do this from this to this time, and I'm going to do this from this time, and just be organized with your time to be a fully vested athlete when you're out here for the long term. If you're thinking you want to go play varsity sports, or go play Division I, Division II, Division III, or professional sports, whatever, you need to understand what you're doing and how you're doing it. If you're just flying by the seat of the pants, think, oh yeah, I go work two days a week on sports performance, or I practice here, that's good enough. That's nothing. You can have said any better. Your body doesn't really start to understand itself through 32 training sessions. Can I tell you something? That was like 32 sessions to me was like almost like a month. It was like, I'm doing 32 sessions. That's at least, a month and a half of training.
Right.
That's how I looked at it. A month and a half of training. If I'm really working at it, 5 days a week, right, it's a month and a half of training. And that's nothing. And could you imagine if you were organized and did a month and a half, October to November, then took a little break because of the vacation, then another month and a half before the holiday break in December. Okay, and then done another. Man, you're up to 64 to 70 something sessions before January.
Right.
Man, now that is accomplishing something with the body. Now the body starts to change. The body starts to get stronger. The will and the mental side of the your mind gets into this euphoric state of you can't be stopped. Now the training now is making you tougher mentally, not only physically but mentally ready to go. And you're not even at the first of the year, man. Look at the confidence you have, and look at the energy. And look, you can go longer now in your training because you're now have that body ready to go to endure a season. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, just listening to you talk right now, it just something just kept pounding in my head, and it was, I don't think that athletes grasp the concept that practicing is and training is for transformation. You're trying to change
right
your body. You're trying to change your skill set, and you got to be realistic on how long that takes and how many sessions it takes and what those incremental steps are going to be based on how much you put in. And because, performance training and private coaching and all, and travel baseball has become so, kind of mainstream or passe, I think there's more of a check the box mentality about it than, in other words, people are looking for an attendance award, not what knowledge did I, gain from going.
Right.
or what growth, in other words, did I gain from going? I can go to a math class all semester and learn very little, or I can learn a whole lot.
Yeah.
So it's how you're using that time. I think that's important. And the ideal is, regardless of how much time you put in, there's got to be growth at the end of it. And it may not be all the growth you want, but because maybe your time was limited, but there still needs to be some growth. And in training, what athletes don't tend to understand, and even the parents sometimes, is that in most instances, you're actually relearning something, especially with me and running. And I know it's the same with you in hitting.
Yeah.
Because if you've got a 12 or 13-year-old who's been doing something, 10, 11 years of their life, do you realistically think someone's going to be able to change that and change it and make it stick and change it and make it stick under duress and pressure and competition in a handful of sessions?
Yeah.
Now, it's been done. I've done it. Yeah. But that's really, you're really not playing the odds.
Yeah.
Because more likely than not, it takes more time than what people understand. Regardless how good I am, regardless how good you are, regardless how receptive the kid is, because again, there's a process, introduction of the concepts, the new concepts, learning those concepts and understanding them, applying those concepts in practice and doing it routinely, and now applying those concepts under duress and competition, which is what performance is. So there's a whole process that needs to take place, and that may not happen. You may see some things happen very quickly. They change their mechanics. They understand the concept. But it may take longer for them to do it routinely and do it on command, and then also longer for them to do it when a 90-mile-an-hour fastball is coming at them, or you've got 6 or 7 other guys in the race and you're all running shoulder to shoulder. So and the only way that you move through that process and move through it with some relative speed is by being invested in your process.
Yeah.
And so it's not just, okay, I went to performance training this week, check. I went to practice this week, check. I went to EJ this week, check.
Right.
you know. So, again, vested is again, it's not an attendance thing. That's only one part of it.
Yeah. Well, I look at it this way. You got the check box mentality versus being vested in what you're trying to do. And, it's kind of funny. I just thought of a circumstance that's been going on for the past 3 weeks with just hitting. And, we have team practice. We hit. We have a hitting day. We just hit. And then we have a hitting class. The players that are at practice that week and then come to the extra hitting, which is all hitting, and then are in that class, they're excelling. They're excelling if they're vested in the process and really getting something out of it. That means they're really concentrating at practice when we have that short time to hit. And then when they come in and hit, they're ready to go. And then we have the hitting class. Those kids that are really into it and they're being that full-time athlete in terms of just hitting are benefiting. But that's, like you said, it's not the checkbox. It's like being consistent with your practice or your training. And it's not all day. It's like I said, it's a very short amount of time. You get a lot of work done. So I think what you said is very important today, Aaron. Checkbox mentality versus, are you a vested athlete? What does that really mean to you? And that really talks to the point of, are you invested in what you're doing?
Nada or nothing more to say.
Not at all. Anyway, hey, it's been a great talk today, Aaron. And hey, hit us up, people out there. As Aaron says, check the box all the time when you guys listen to us.
Yeah,
and
hit that like button.
Hit the like button on YouTube, right?
Yep. Let us know what you're thinking, and we'll chop it up. We'll talk about it.
Well, this is Coach EJ, the brand.
It's Coach Aaron, the source. We'll see you.